good Friday morning, a feel-good football Friday right before Thanksgiving. We have made it. We have flown through these months, as always, to get right here with two winning football teams that are charging towards the playoffs and have two more challenges this weekend. The bigger of the two, the Jets going up to New England to try to finally beat the Patriots, and, of course, the Giants hosting the Lions. We had an interesting Thursday night game last night. I was wrong about this. I really thought that the Packers were going to win that game. They did not. The Titans looked very impressive. And we do have some baseball today as Aaron Judge wins the MVP expectedly. And Brian Cashman apparently says that, we put an offer out there for him, so that's starting to move a little bit. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
I'm a little tired this morning, G, watching all these games last night, and I got to tell you, can the Titans be any more boring?
Yeah.
I mean, they are good. They basically slap the Packers around, and if I were Matt LaFleur, I'd have a conversation with number 23. His name is Jair Alexander, a pretty good player, who basically epitomized exactly what the Packers were doing last night. You'd never know that by listening to it, but this guy turned down I don't know how many different tackles, and basically it was like the example of what is wrong with the Packers. Like, it's almost like the guys are ready to mail it in. And, Aaron Rodgers, I could say the same for him, too, because he missed some wide-open throws late in the game. Could have got the team back in the game. Doesn't seem like there's any life there with the Packers.
Now, and there was last week. That's what's so shocking about it. I know,
but it's a short week, and I know the Titans are a good team. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they reflect their coach. They play physical. Their defensive line is good. See, this is why if you're the Jets and you're the Giants, and you think about offensive and defensive line combinations, this is how you win in the league as long as your quarterback's not turning the ball over. Now, Ryan Tannehill threw a late interception. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? But, kind of reminded me a little bit of the Bengal playoff game last year.
Where it was so bad.
Where they're going to let the Packers back into the game. But it's amazing when you're sitting there and you're watching this and you're seeing just how, out of life a team can be. And, that's on the head coach. It's on the leaders. There's no question about that. But when you have guys turning down tackles and you have guys that don't want them, they're making those so-called Deion Sanders business decisions, you got a real problem. You really do have a problem. And, if I were Matt LaFleur, I would look really closely at that tape, and I would bring it up, and I'd say, this is what our problem is here, right here. And I'd put it right on a couple of plays that Jair Alexander did not play. Now, he's one of many guys who didn't make key plays last night, but I saw him turning down plays, and that's not a good look. And the Packers, they feel probably, hey, we can win our next six. That's not happening. I think this helps the Giants. This is another NFC team that loses, that is in the mix at the moment. But I just don't think that they're long for a playoff run here. That just doesn't look like they have it in them.
No, they're done. And you're right about helping the Giants, because I did think there was some momentum there. And I thought maybe, just maybe, because it's Aaron Rodgers, after that win against the Cowboys, they go running up and, maybe get to 10-7. Maybe that's a possibility for them. But no, they're dead. Doesn't matter. Get them out of there. The Giants also have the tiebreaker over the Packers, so you don't have to worry about them for a potential wild card. But the Giants also got to be thinking about the division now, too. I know we focus on the wild card with them because Philadelphia had been undefeated, but the Giants should still be thinking about the division. But this conference, man, there's just so much that's going to happen from now until the end of the year where this thing could be totally upside down.
I mean, a lot of these teams still have 8 games to go.
Yeah, I know.
That's the thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, so essentially we're at the halfway point. Some have 7, some have 8. And I think that was a good outcome for the Giants last night. Now, something happened yesterday. I was reading an article about Zach Wilson and some of the comments that he made in regards to, what's going on outside the building.
That's
like, people
right.
outside the building have no idea what's going on inside the building. And he's right. And I actually kind of liked it. I really liked it. I like the fact that, he is now feeling his oats a little bit. And he's very confident about his team. He's very confident about his own performance and his own abilities to make plays. The only thing that I would caution him is that, look, you've been here for like 20 games, and you're making comments now as if like you're going to go up to New England and win a game. And I hope that is the case. I hope that somehow, some way, you, young man, can figure it out and finally get your first win against Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. So there's part of me that really likes the young, kind of aggressive, not understanding what I'm saying take on the whole thing. And then there's part of me that says, you know what, you better go up and win, because you say crap like that, you go up and lose, then you open yourself to even further criticism.
Yeah, I know. We ask so much of these guys, though.
I know.
I mean, we ask them to thread the needle with these things because on one hand, we're talking about how we want that personality, we want the chip on the shoulder, the red ass in your quarterback that you're always talking about. And then if he says something like he says yesterday, which basically was, I'm convinced that everybody out of this building doesn't know what they're talking about, then he'll get criticized for that. I am not going to criticize him for it. I did like it. But I'm with you. I mean, you cannot play another game like you did against New England on Sunday. Again, you cannot be throwing the ball around indiscriminately. You cannot lose the football game for your team when you're talking about how everybody outside the building has no idea what they're talking about. But I do like it. I do like it.
Yes, I know.
But I'd like to see this Jet team go to the playoffs, have him play well, have him be more of a storyline as opposed to the Jets defense. But this is what you want from that young quarterback. We talk about it all the time. You don't want the flatliner. You want the guy who doesn't say anything. You want the guy that's going to get in the huddle and tell a guy to shut the F up and go out there and hit somebody.
Yeah, I want to see that too. I want to see that because it's his team and he's got to take ownership in it. And taking ownership in your team is not yelling at your teammates on the sideline, but it is kind of imploring them to win and getting into the huddle, standing in there and saying, listen, we're going to do this. And I hope he gets a chance to do it late in the game in the fourth quarter where they need a touchdown to go ahead, and take his team 80 yards and, throw it to Garrett Wilson or Elijah Moore on a little in cut and hit him right on the numbers like he was hitting guys last week or 2 weeks ago. The only thing I want it, but I also want it I want it refined. You know what I mean?
You don't want it necessarily publicly every time.
I don't need it. I don't necessarily need that. You can fight your critics if you want, but the best way to fight your critics is with your performance. And I always say that the proof is in the performance. Yeah. And once the performance is done, then everybody will have a chance to take a shot or laud you for the great game that you had. So. Like I said, I'm happy about it because I like the aggressiveness. I like the confidence. That's what I want. But I just know that he also now puts a target on his back again, simply because, look, we've been around here for a long time. Mm-hmm. I've been in that locker room, so I kind of know a sense. I have a sense or two about what's going on, and I'd like to think that we've always been relatively honest around here, thinking that. When we do give an opinion, it comes from it's based in fact and it's based in credibility. So I would just say if you're indiscriminately giving the ball away, you're going to get ripped. Yeah, that's all there is to it.
And he was specifically talking about the emotions that he had. That's what he was asked about. He was overly emotional in a game, fired up, whatever. And he's like, I thought that they were good emotions. And then he said what he said. It wasn't necessarily about the critics that were talking about him throwing interceptions, because what the hell could you possibly defend yourself on that? I mean,
yes.
There's nobody in the world that had a positive thing to say about Zach Wilson's first game against the Patriots. But I mean, you had a little bit of that when you were young too. In college,
that's what I'm saying.
Rookie.
Yes, of course. Sometimes you got to fight back. I understand that, but it's a totally different world for these kids today.
Yeah,
it really is. I mean, they get bombarded on social media. I don't know how many times we talked about this. Then it's the regular media. Then the guys that are covering the team are asked to give opinions about the team, as opposed to just covering the team. Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen really anymore. Everybody's got an opinion about one player here, another player there, and everybody's waiting to see whether or not Zach Wilson is going to be the real deal. We kind of have a sneaking suspicion that he certainly has the ability to make plays. He's got the arm strength. He's got the accuracy. The question is does he have the wherewithal to do it for 4 quarters for 17 games? Yeah, and that's a lot. You're asking a lot, especially for a kid that's only in his second year.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody knows the answer to that. I don't even think Zach Wilson knows the answer to it. Rob Saleh, Joe Douglas. I don't think anybody knows at this point because we've gotten such a mixed bag. I mean, we've gotten him coming back in the fourth quarter against the Steelers. We got him playing great against Buffalo. But then we got him trying to lose the game against Denver and losing the game against New England. It's been such a mixed bag. So that's why a game like this is so critical, not only for the organization and beating the Patriots and breaking that streak, but for him too. I mean, that's another notch on his belt. Road game, New England, playoff race. Go up there, play great again. Keep the momentum going.
I know that Rob Saleh's got to look at the big picture. That, I'm sure that internally he's talking about, we're good enough to beat this team. We owe this team, all those natural things to get your team fired up and focused. Those are all normal things that I'm sure that he's doing. But he also has to pat down the whole, we have to win this game kind of thing because they have a lot of games left after this.
Yeah.
And if they do lose this game, no matter how it happens, he still has got to keep his team on edge, thinking that it can go to the playoffs. Because I do believe if his defense stays healthy, with their newfound attitude and with the C.J. Mosley heartbeat in the middle of it, they can be as good, if not as good, as everybody else in the league on the defensive side of the ball. I'm telling you. So that to me says, hey, Zach, just don't turn the ball over, especially in the situations where the game is close. And I know you're trying to make a play, but you always got to tell yourself, I can make it the play on the next down. I don't have to force the issue.
Yeah, I mean, what's starting to remind me of this group right now a little bit is that Jacksonville Jaguars team that had that great defense and then Blake Bortles at quarterback, and they had a lot of attitude on that side of the ball. And Jalen Ramsey, and they went all the way to the AFC Championship game. Like, that's the type of
team.
We're
going to win this bitch.
Yeah, we're going to win this bitch.
Right.
Yeah, so that's sort of the way that they're built right now, you know?
So that's this team. This is we're going to win this bitch team.
Yeah, 2.0, I guess.
Yes.
But you know what I'm saying? The defense is definitely the big personality on this team. And you've got a quarterback that you don't know exactly what it is, and hopefully Zach Wilson's better than Blake Bortles.
Well, he is. I would just say that, what's going to be interesting, there's going to be a game here where he's going to have to, really put up some numbers.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's going to be against this defense up in Gillette. That's going to be tough. Now, the good thing is that they have their own good defense and they have their own good, solid running game that you'd like to think that Zach is going to be able to feed off of that, and then sooner or later there's going to be that big game. I mean, a lot of yards the last time they played the Patriots. But those yards and those turnovers, when you mix them all in together, the turnovers end up, trumping anything that you're doing.
Right.
And that's all that anybody really talks about or remembers. But when you go back and you look at the tape, there are a lot of good throws in that game. And you're like, wow. Like his first touchdown pass was like to Tyler Conklin. It was a really good throw.
Yeah.
And you could see those are the things that get you excited about the young man. Now all you're looking for is total consistency, more refinement of the game, and understanding your concepts that that Mike LaFleur is doing for you, and go out there and play with a lot of energy. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I do think that coming off a bye, thinking about this game, Belichick's not going to give you the same game plan as he did last time. It's going to be difficult, but I do like the Jets in the game. I loved them the first time, and it didn't work out, but I like them here. I just think that they're more talented than the New England Patriots. Now, you're talking about a road game. It's always going to be tough to play up there. They certainly have the head coach advantage. No disrespect to Rob Sala and what he's doing, but we know that they've got the head coach advantage.
Bill Belichick, man.
I mean, but
he has the head coaching advantage against everybody.
This game's going to be – this is a 17 to 16, something like that. Something ugly. You know what I'm saying? Something like that, 20 to 17.
Unless the quarterbacks turn it over. If the quarterbacks turn it over, then one team or both teams will score a lot of points, because that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, I don't see this
If we
game.
see 0 turnovers by either quarterback, then it's going to be a really tight, low-scoring game. The moment the turnovers get involved, then one team or the other team has a chance then to run away with it. And you guys just got to hope that it's the other team and not your team that's turning the ball over this time.
Right.
I mean, because, think about it. Mac Jones had the interception of the day that was taken back for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
That was called back because of the roughing the passer. That was the game-changing play right there.
Yep.
And then after that came the Zach Wilson interceptions. And then ultimately, it wasn't like they blew the Jets out or anything.
No. I mean, they controlled the second half of the game, and they picked them apart. I mean, it was a clinic in the second half of that game. Running the football, ball control, converting on third downs, just picking them apart. But, I mean, yeah, the Jets were on their way to a comfortable lead, and I think that if it would have stayed 17-3, they would have won.
Yep. And by the way, thank God we're not in Buffalo right now.
Yeah, I know. They did end up moving the game. I'm sure everybody's heard by now. It's going to be played in Detroit, 1 p.m., the Bills and the Browns, and then Buffalo, lucky for them, they don't have to go back to Buffalo. They'll probably end up, staying there because they play on Thursday against the Lions. But
what's interesting to me is that, did they leave already?
I hope so. I hope that they did, because getting out of there can't be fun right now.
One of my buddies yesterday texted me and said, how would you feel if your game was moved from your hometown stadium, from your home stadium, but knowing that you're leaving your family behind in a record snowfall?
It's a great question. You don't think about that human element to this, do you?
Because I'm sure that a lot of people are going to be losing power, and I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of like little situations that are happening.
Yeah.
Like we deal with when we have storms down here.
Sure. But, I mean, 6 feet is something that we have not experienced here in New York.
Well, that's true. But even we get 6 inches, it's a panic sets in.
Panic City with the 6 inches, certainly. Yeah, but I think they made the right call there and got him out of there because this does not look – this is not normal. This is not normal what's happening up there.
Well, it started last night at 10 o'clock. There's also, I guess, up in Oswego County, there's a town up there that's already got 24 inches of snow on the ground.
God. And it's November still.
Yeah.
The middle of November.